We're all obsessed with speed, right? Faster replies, faster decisions, faster everything. But what if the real secret to being more effective, more in control, and honestly just more powerful isn't about speeding up at all? What if it's about making a deliberate choice to not react? Let's get into it.
So this is the big question, really, the one we're going to dig into. Are you reacting on pure impulse, or are you responding with actual intention? Just think about the last time you felt stressed. Which one was it? Because, the difference between those two little words, it can change absolutely everything.
You know that feeling, that jolt you get when an email with a subject line in all caps just slams into your inbox? It's always demanding you fix something right now. Your heart starts pounding, and whatever you were focused on, gone. And then, the ping. That little red dot pops up, a direct message that just yanks your attention away from what you were doing. It feels like another fire you have to put out, another demand on your time and focus.
And just when you're trying to get back on track, your phone buzzes. A missed call. Oh man, was it an emergency? What did you miss? This constant digital storm is basically training our brains to be in a state of never-ending reaction.
So let's talk about why. Why do we feel this insane pressure to be constantly on? This brings us to a really core idea we need to challenge, what I call the myth of action. It's this belief that's so deep in our culture that just moving fast is the same thing as making progress.
It's almost like we've all joined a cult of action, where having a crazy packed calendar and running around like a maniac are seen as badges of honor. We keep mistaking all this frenetic activity, this busyness, for being truly effective. But here's the question. Are they really the same thing?
And this brings us to a really crucial distinction, kind of like a battle between two different ways of thinking that live inside all of us. On one side, you've got the reactive mind, which is pretty much our default setting in this crazy, hyper-connected world. And on the other side, you have the strategic mind, and that is where our real power is just waiting to be unlocked.
And wow, this table just lays out the difference so clearly. I mean, just look at the drivers. The reactive mind is all about emotion and impulse, that knee-jerk feeling. But the strategic mind? No, it's guided by logic and your actual long-term goals. One is totally focused on the immediate fire drill, which, let's be honest, often leads to mistakes and regret. The other is focused on the bigger picture, and that's what leads to clarity, to control, and that amazing feeling of being calm and focused.
Okay, so how do we shift from that chaotic, reactive state to the more strategic one? Well, it's not about some new app or a complicated productivity system. It's about mastering something incredibly simple, but also profoundly powerful: the pause.
Let's actually give this a name: strategic stillness. Now, this isn't about doing nothing. It's a really active, intentional practice. It's about consciously creating this little pocket of time, a space between what happens to you and how you choose to deal with it. And it's in that space, that's where all your leverage is.
And the benefits here are just huge. When you pause, you get clarity, instead of being lost in a fog of confusion. You start making better, more thoughtful decisions, instead of those costly snap judgments. You learn to regulate your emotions, keeping a steady hand, instead of letting them run the whole show. You preserve your energy for what actually matters. And at the end of the day, you gain so much more influence over your situation.
This idea has been around for a long time. It's famously captured in this really powerful quote: "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." It's such a profound reminder that we're not just puppets of our circumstances. We have a choice.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? Especially when the pressure's really on. Let's move to a super simple, practical framework that you can start using like today.
Here it is, the 4-step pause. It's so simple. First, you just acknowledge it. That's it. Notice that annoying email, feel that impulse to just fire back a reply. Second, pause. Do nothing. Just take one deep, deliberate breath. That's it. That's your space. Third, assess. Ask yourself, what's my real goal here? Which response actually helps me get there? And then finally, act. Now you can choose your response from a place of intention, not pure impulse. Now, when you start to practice this, you're going to find it so much more than just a coping mechanism. It becomes a genuine strategic advantage that fundamentally changes how you operate in every single part of your life.
I mean, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? It brilliantly illustrates the payoff. The quality and the effectiveness of decisions made in that reactive state are consistently low. They're full of errors and emotional bias. But the effectiveness of strategic responses, the ones made after you pause, is dramatically higher. You're just operating from a place of way more clarity and strength.
So, I want you to let this one sink in. In a world that glorifies constant motion and immediate reaction, your ability to be still, to pause, and to choose your response deliberately, that is a genuine superpower. It's what separates the truly effective from the people who are just busy.
And remember just how easy it is to access the superpower. It doesn't require hours of training or some expensive piece of software. It all begins with just one single intentional breath. That's all it takes to create that space and reclaim your power.
So I'll leave you with this question. Think about it. That frustrating project at work, the next high-stakes meeting you have, maybe a difficult conversation that's waiting for you at home. Where will you apply your pause first? The power to choose is right there, just waiting for you in that space.